In today's episode, when a good server breaks, quitting after one training shift, passwords are hard, incredibly weird broke as Karen. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. When a good server breaks. Background: as concise as possible. I've been beaten and abused by a new restaurant. I've done everything they've asked. I'm the team player. I've been around this job for a while, so I'm pretty laid back about even the worst nonsense. Last thing to note, the restaurant serves one particular standout dish that accounts for over 50% of our total entree sales. So on to my breakdown. It's V-Day weekend and slammed all weekend. I'm on a sat double, and the kitchen is ruined in all directions. I find out I'm in the same section I've been in for nearly every shift I've worked for the past week or two. It's been amusing but also wildly annoying, because it's the furthest section from everything. I have to weave and scream my way through a packed bar, and support staff forgets I exist over there. So I'm working my section, and that feature entree gets 86D. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh boy. My day just got rough. So I'm having the conversation with every table, and it's time consuming to pretend I care. Every table is starting out disappointed. How fun. Managers are overwhelmed and aren't exactly the comp-Y type anyway. I'm on my own to customer service the sh*t out of these people, and hope for a barely decent tip. Well, my luck. Table 11 knows table 12. And gave them the heads up about the 86 when they sat down. But wait. The manager just came to tell me the dish is back. So I can serve it to 12. But now 11 is pissed. They tell me they would have ordered another app and waited a half hour if they knew they could have ordered it. This continues to happen all day. The dish gets 86D, nobody tells me because I'm working in a different zip code. I piss a bunch of tables off by telling them, then the dish comes back, and again nobody tells me, and I've now got to edit a bunch of sent tickets with their new entree choices. So the straw that broke the camel's backs was at the end of the night. My last seating was pretty flat, so I had 4 tables all doing nearly the same thing. They can actually hear me at the other tables, because I'm screaming in a packed bar in a mask, so they overhear me giving the bad news about the entree. They're all mostly understanding, but it takes them all a while to decide on new entrees. I'm a little weeded because now I'm describing half the menu. But I get the orders in. All 4 tables within 5 to 10 minutes, sorry kitchen. Blame the host. I go back out to my section after ringing everything in, and a table is flagging me down wildly. A guy just came by with the main dish and said we can order it. We want to switch our order. Well, don't you know, I look around at my section and 20 plus sets of eyes are on me. Presumably for the same reason. What do I do first? Stop the kitchen from firing the entrees I just sent? Attend to the guests? Check with a manager that this is even true, like who told all my tables but didn't tell me? So now I'm flying around this restaurant. 1/2 a mile to the kitchen. Another mile looking for a manager. I find the manager who confirms that it's back, and I tell him I have an absolute sh*t show in my section then, and I need his help. He says he has 11 of the entree, and I can have what I need. I tell him I need all 11. We go to my section together and I abandon all conventional customer service standards and basically just start barking at tables. How many entree? Quick, I need to know now. The manager is reserving them in the system. I enlist another server to run back to the kitchen to explain that these reserved entrees now need to be matched with their original, edited ticket. It's a nightmare. The manager who's helping me is the nicest one and he's doing his best, but I had just had it after a long day of dealing with this. We're side by side at the computer working through it. This one gets voided. This check gets combined with this one. No, the other 12. This one has one too many entrees. I look out onto the floor and OMG, my whole section needs drinks and wine now, and I'm stuck here, and where is my support, and I just lost IT, and looked at this poor manager and screamed, and why am I in this section every? So yes, that was the moment this really nice manager, who had nothing to do with sections, and had no idea this was going on in my head, blinked a few times in surprise, and took it like a champ. He just sort of stammered, well, I don't know. But when I arrived for my shift the next day, last night, and noticed my shiny new section, I gave him the thumbs up. He just laughed and said he wouldn't dare put me back in that section ever again. Quitting after one training shift. So I've got a number of years of serving experience, both in small business and corporate gigs. I recently got my degree and was able to exit the service industry, but things fell through with my 9-to-5, and so I got back on the market for serving just to pay bills while I continue searching for a job in my field. I'm in the third round of interviews/assessments for a job in my field I'm very qualified for, and things are looking good, but not guaranteed, so I accepted a serving job at a corporate restaurant. The employee reviews for this location in particular are abysmal, and I saw that upon accepting the job, but I swallowed the bullet because I need to pay rent. To start off, they interviewed me at the end of January and offered me a job, sent me a bunch of paperwork, and then texted me 2 weeks later with less than 24 hours notice when my first shift would be. And gave me no other indication of the rest of the week's schedule. Just that it was coming soon. Do jobs think we have nothing else going on in life/things to plan for? Yesterday, I had my first day of training, which was them throwing me on the host stand with someone that started there 2 weeks ago. When I asked for them to go over the training sheet, the person said they don't pay me to train, I'm not training. TBH, fair enough. So I learned nothing about their POS system, sections, how they handle large parties, etc. I studied a table chart and the menu, but that's about all I could do. It was a complete waste of my time. Multiple times I was left up there alone and people were trying to order to go, and I didn't even have a number to use to log into the computer to input the orders. Meanwhile, the phone is ringing and people are asking about having a group of 25 in for dinner, and, again, I was given no idea as to what their protocol is for these things. And of course, people are lining up at the door. After that, one of the kitchen guys came up and started yelling at us that the bathrooms need to be cleaned. There's 2 of you up here, why isn't one of you dealing with it while the other one stays at the host stand? And it took like 2 minutes of trying to interject into his yelling to explain I was on my first day of training, so there's technically not 2 of us up here. Basically their entire staff excluding a few here, and there have been there for maybe 3 months or less, and I was trained on literally nothing I was told I would be for day 1. Not to mention, since it's corporate, they have all of these strict expectations for me when it comes to my training being finished, so I'm being set up to fail. I've also already been told by employees that managers don't follow through on their promises of raises, abiding by people's availability, etc. All in all, the vibes are just bad. I've never left a job after one day, but with my experience in this industry, I've allowed myself to get a lot more picky and narrowed my threshold for bullsh*t. Additionally, servers are so badly needed everywhere since the pandemic started that I'm allowing myself to value myself for once. Restaurants need to woo us for once and prove they're worthy of us working there. Is the best way to handle this to just give them a call and let them know it's not the right fit for me? I don't feel like wasting more of their time or my own when I can feel in my soul that this place is just not going to work for me. I have a ton of anxiety about not following through on a job I accepted, but I've also seen countless people never return to service industry jobs after a day or 2, and the place always just moves on. Any advice/validation/viewpoints are helpful. Passwords are hard. In my job role, I need to assist employees logging into 2 separate apps. Each has a few different hoops to jump through, but the hardest part for most people is typing in their username and password. Generally, I provide an email and text message to new users with links to access them, some light instructions, and the actual login information. Our younger tech-savvy users have no problem logged in quickly without more instruction. The majority of our users need hand-holding. Usually in person, but that isn't always possible. Recently I had a new issue that was just. It was just. I'm trying to help a user log in. I've provided him his credentials, I've tested them myself, but he simply cannot get it to work. He thinks it is due to his device. I know that it is because of his fingers. I am trying to get him to include the capital letters. He doesn't know what that means. Capital letter. Uppercase letter? Big letter? I'm at a total loss in describing to him how to capitalize a letter. I struggle my way through that. As many passwords go, ours requires a special character. Our default includes an exclamation point. He doesn't know what an exclamation mark is. I send screenshots of how to access it. How to type it in. Nothing. That one totally stumped me. Had to send someone out on a special trip to help him input his credentials correctly. This happens all the time. Incredibly weird, broke as Karen. So I normally enjoy my job. I've been in industry for 6.5 years and have spent most of that time serving. I bartended for a little over a year before COVID. A couple of weeks ago I had one of my most confusingly awful tables that I have ever served. They were so awful that I can still remember the whole experience and every item ordered. This four-top comes in and sits in a booth in my section, two women, a 12-ish-year-old boy, and a toddler who looked to be around 2, maybe almost 3 years old. The table sits down, and I greet them before I even get a chance to say my name. They interrupt me and say they need waters for everyone and ask for free rolls. We don't have rolls, but we do have bread and butter that we don't really serve, but I get it for them. I go and get their water, and when I bring them back, the younger of the two women say to, "Don't you have better high chairs? This one is awful." I tell her we only have that type of high chair, but we do have booster seats. If she would like to try that out, she seems outraged and says that booster seats are far too dangerous and that her daughter needs to be able to be strapped in. I tell her the booster seats do have straps, but they would only work on a normal table. She doesn't want to move, so they stay with the high chair. Then she asks me if we have baby appetizers. I respond confused and tell her no, we do have a kids menu and sides of fruit or vegetables. This answer displeases her quite a bit, and she says you really don't have baby appetizers. I need something bland and plain for my baby. I repeat the answer, and the bread they asked for arrived. She tells me to go away, and I leave. I'm pretty frustrated at this point because she is making absolutely no sense. I work in an upscale sports bar. This is not the type of place that caters that hard to children. The biggest thing we are known for is a very large selection of draft beers. I come back to take their order and refill their waters. While I am taking the order, the toddler puts its hand into the water pitcher, and the mother looks at me and smirks. Both of the women order one item to share with their children. The older one gets fish and chips, and the younger gets pineapple chicken with rice. They both ask for separate plates so they can share. As I bring the food out and the separate plates, giving the older woman her food first and setting the extra plate in front of the boy. I set down the younger woman's food and go to put the second plate in front of her as well, and she turns to me and says, "Oh my God, what is wrong with you? Don't you know babies can't have glass plates, they will throw them? Don't you have plastic plates?" I am taken aback by this outburst and have to stop myself from being unprofessional and respond that we have to go boxes if she would like something plastic, but we do not have plastic plates. She gets very frustrated and says absolutely not. She grabs one of the small round plates used for bread and says this will be fine for my baby. I walk away even more confused and frustrated because we use ceramic plates. The one I brought was a large heavy ceramic plate, and the one she decided to use was a small light ceramic plate. If she was so worried about her monster child trying to throw the plate, the large one would have been much harder. I check back on them a few times, and as they slow down on eating, I ask them if they would like boxes. They tell me no and ask for the check. I give them the check and walk over to one of my other tables. While I am taking the order at the other table, they wave down another server and tell the server that they need boxes. I see this happen and walk over to the other server to ask what was wrong. I go to get the boxes for them, and as I am walking back to the table, boxes in hand, they have already waved down a second server that they are asking for boxes. This took about 1 minute. They seemed shocked to see me with the boxes. They left and of course tipped me nothing. I was honestly just so glad to have them gone.